So far in this course, I've introduced you briefly to a few classes and methods that give you the current date and time. These were local date time, period and system.nanotime. In the next few videos, I'll talk about these and other related classes in more detail. Java provides a lot of classes for date and time processing, which can be confusing. There are classes in the java.util package, but JDK8 provided a better generation of classes in the java.time package. I'll cover these, but first I'll start by talking about date and time in general. I'll cover terms that are important to help you understand the many classes and interfaces which are part of the java.time packages. On this slide, I'm showing you a few classes and enums in the java.time package which you'll likely use the most. There are classes specific for date and time, such as local date and local time. The offset date time and zone date time classes are used when you need to measure or store dates and time against the universal standard. There are also more classes for measuring or representing time intervals. The most commonly used are instant, duration, and period. This package also has some well-used enums such as day of week and month. This slide only shows a subset of the classes available in this package. Java has other packages under the java.time umbrella as shown on this slide. These are java.time.temporal and java.time.format. You'll likely be using these two packages and the types within them. In addition, there are the java.time.zone and java.time.chrono packages. You're less likely to need the functionality specifically related to these last two packages, so I won't be covering them, but you should be aware of them. The java.time.temporal package contains important interfaces that the java.time classes implement. These include the temporal and temporal accessor interfaces that describe a uniform way to read from or write to a date time object. The temporal adjuster, temporal amount, temporal field, and temporal unit interfaces are used often as method parameters to select the specific information you want from a date time object. There are two enums in this package that I'll be covering, and shown here, chrono field and chrono unit. The temporal adjusters class is a helper class to return specific implementations of temporal adjuster, which can give you helpful dates such as first day of month or last day of year, etc. I've shown you how to format date time using the %t specifier in a formatted string. The java.time.format package gives you a lot more options, as well as support for localization, which I'll be covering a little bit later in this section. There are enums to support dates and time in defined styles called full, long, medium, and short, and I'll show you these in a couple of examples shortly. On this slide, I'm showing the most common classes for date and time. When you don't need to include time zone data, these are local date, local time, and local date time. Each implement both the temporal and the temporal accessor interfaces and the methods on those interfaces as I'm showing here. These include the get and range methods from temporal accessor. From temporal, there are methods to add or subtract units of time from your objects. These are the plus and minus methods. Field values can be directly set on a returned copy using the with methods. I'm also showing methods on local date that in general are methods available in some form on any of the temporal objects. These have prefixes such as at, get, and is. There are several static methods which return a new instance of a temporal class. There is the now method that gives you a representation of the current moment for the class you specify. You can create instances using any of the several overloaded versions that exist for the factory method. Alternately, you can use the pass method with a character sequence, usually a string, that's formatted in a predetermined way, or you can pass in a defined format. The methods shown on this slide are purposely shown without too much detail. You can use similarly named methods on any of the temporal implementations with varying parameters and return types. All temporal instances of classes in the java.time package are immutable and thread safe. A new instance is returned from methods that write to a temporal instance, such as the plus or minus methods, for example. You'll need to assign the result of these methods to a variable. The original instance won't be modified. In addition to the methods on the temporal and temporal accessor interfaces, most implementations have methods prefixed with at, get, and is, as well as a format method. The at methods allow you to combine temporal instances. As an example, a time is combined with the local date for both the at start of day and at time methods and return local date time instances. the date and time instances implement comparable, so each has a compare to method. The get methods are specific to the class, so for local date, you'd have date-related getters like get year, get month, get day of week, and so on. For local time, these would be get hour, get minute, etc. Each class supports is after, is before, and is equal, so you can compare units of date or time. And there's a format method to output a formatted date. Again, these signatures aren't detailed on this slide. They don't show parameters or return types. They're here to introduce you to the series of named methods you can expect to find on most temporal implementations. On this slide, I want you to see that Java is internally storing the date fields and the time fields as separate numeric fields. These fields can be retrieved with or without context of the other fields. For example, you can get day of the month or day of the year. Local date uses an int for year and a short for month and day. Local time uses bytes for the hour, minute and second and an int for nanoseconds. Local date time has two fields, a date with a type of local date and a time with a type of local time. Local date is a class for storing and managing a date with a year, month and day without reference to a specific time zone. This kind of date might be used for an anniversary date, a birth date, or a special holiday like Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May, or Thanksgiving Day. This class doesn't have a clock time component. The local time class provides a description of the local time as seen on a wall clock. It contains neither a date or a time zone. Time is represented as hour, minute, second, with nanosecond precision if it's available. I won't show you the local date time class again, but if you need both a date and time without reference to a time zone, then you can use local date time. I'll be showing you uses of all three of these classes in the next video, jumping back into code to take a closer look at the local date and local time classes, so I'll see you in that next video.